Hi, I'm Kathryn Woodard. Thank you for your interest in the piano exams that are now a part of the Sonic Crossroads online offerings. With this short video, I want to describe and introduce to you a couple of the pieces that I've included on the list for the earlier grades. And in the process, describe for you how I came to put together this program and how I choose the repertoire generally. So, in the earlier grades, a lot of students are interested in pieces that sound like they're from other parts of the world. That's generally been a part of teaching music at the piano. Oftentimes, however, these are pieces that don't really represent composers from those regions, and composers from those regions do exist. So that is the main rationale by including pieces by Muammer Sun from Turkey, Halim El-Dabh from Egypt, and those are the two pieces that I'm going to play for you. I'll admit that I include other pieces that are very popular with students, such as the Bacchanale from Samson and Delilah by Saint-Saëns. It's a great way to introduce the sound of that particular scale that they latch onto. I also like it because I tend to use it as a way to introduce an irregular rhythm, the 8-beat rhythm that goes with the melody. And I'll demonstrate that for you. So, what usually happens in lessons when I'm teaching scales is I'll introduce C major. It's the easiest place to start. And then I'll ask the student, after they're comfortable with that, to just take the thumb and go up a step. And they'll play this. So I'm asking them to match what they heard with C major, but I want them to sound it out themselves. And so they'll play the white keys. Maybe they'll realize it didn't sound exactly the same as C major, maybe they don't. And then they might find the F sharp on their own right away, or I might have to talk them through it. And then they learn to connect that to what they learned starting on C, just on the white keys. So I asked them to bump it up again. And what I actually experienced with a student recently is he noticed right away that he needed to have one black key for D major, and so he automatically tried that first with E. And he realized he liked that so much, and I do too. I love that mode. And so then the question arises, well, what's that scale called? And I had to tell him right away, well, I know the Turkish name. We would call that first pattern of 4 notes Hijaz. And maybe if we make an entire scale out of it, we call it Zirgule de Hijaz. But I had to admit to him I didn't know the Arabic name, because we were actually looking at pieces that used Arabic modes, one of which I'll play for you. So then we experiment with that. I don't necessarily correct it right away. Oh, that's not major. We need to figure out what's major. I just let it be, and then maybe we riff for a while and make up some patterns that they can explore. So that's one approach to sounding out scales. So I mentioned the Bacchanale from Samson and Delilah. That uses exactly that pattern. The arrangement that I usually use is in D, Zirgule de Hijaz, or as I've discovered, Suzidir in Arabic. So the melody goes like this. We know this tune, it's very popular. For less advanced students, it can just be accompanied by a fifth. Like I said, I use this tune. It's perfectly viable to introduce that mode to students, and it also fits an 8-beat rhythm in the left hand. That's challenging, especially if they don't have a lot of experience playing hands together, but some students take to it right away. And I can teach them that this particular rhythm, 8 beats divided 3 plus 3 plus 2, is called malfouf in Arabic. So already we're learning different terminology that's not necessarily typical for piano lessons, but doesn't have to be excluded from piano lessons. So the reason why I like this particular piece, Soufiane, by Halim El-Dabh, is because it uses that tetrachord, that sequence of intervals. But he also combines it with a different 4-note pattern in the left hand, specifically using these 2 intervals as accompaniment. I think it's his interpretation of what these modes sound like closer to the original tradition, rather than just equating them to equal temperament on the piano. So here is Soufiane. Another reason I like this piece is it's not structured in strict 4-measure phrases. A lot of piano music for the early grades is. It's very much an expectation of what we introduce to students, and students also latch onto that. But this piece, because it's situated in very predictable patterns, is a good way for students to explore a different rhythmic organization. They don't have so much to worry about with the fingers, and so they can explore looking and following and listening to this different rhythmic organization. Similarly, the piece from Book 3 of Country Colors by Muammer Sun explores different modes. It's in very predictable finger patterns. It does move around a little bit, and it does change modes within the piece. But that's another facet that I like about the piece. So here's Country Colors. I've used this piece as sight reading for students, because it's right in this middle range of both staves, to test their reading, and it's also just complex enough where they have to pay attention to different things in both hands. But I also like it because of that different modal sound. It gives students something different to work with, and not even the popular Hijaz tetrachord or pentachord. So I hope this has enticed you to explore these two examples with your students, and please send me any feedback you have about this particular kind of lesson segment. Thanks.